Hello, thanks for calling.
Yeah, thanks. I'm a defense attorney, and I practice in front of Judge Carter several times. I wanted to ask his opinion on something. I have kind of a broad question and then a more specific question. The broad question is, Judge Carter, in your vast experience, is there something that you would like to see the legislature change in the code or in the penal code or the code of criminal procedure? And my more specific question about that, my axe to grind is, what do you think about, do you have an opinion that you can share with us about the 25 to life, the true habitual statutes, and particularly in cases where they're
I thought you were going to ask me if I believe marijuana should be legalized.
Okay, well, I have a third question now. But specifically on the 25 to life statute, you have someone who gets a 2-year sentence on a PCS for possession of controlled substance case, and a few years later they get another one, and then they pick up a third one, and just if you have any thoughts or like that, you can share with us. I'd be curious.
No, you know what?
Thank you.
Again, that 25 to life statute, that's again one of those things that I'm talking about when people and politicians make decisions based on emotion. We've got to be tough on crime, so let's make this this really draconian type of law that says the minimum is 25 years. And it's so it really doesn't make a lot of sense. But having said that, prosecutors have discretion. And when you have an office that uses that 25 to life as a scare tactic and those types of things, and then if you have a good case, you feel your client is not guilty, but they're saying, well, if you go to trial, we're going to have these enhancements, and if you lose, he's going to be looking at 25 years, and he's going to be fighting his case from behind bars. That's not me, but I don't have the power to make that decision.
Right.
I can say that I think that the district attorney's office is more aware and I think how would say more using more discretion on when to apply that 25 to life statute. I personally think that that it works if you've got a really bad offender that should do no less than 25 years. And there are people like that out there.
Yeah.
But I know that, and I think that in the Chronicle they talked about a case the other day, a fellow who was a 25 to life case. And so the district attorney's office was fine in coming to me for punishment, and I told them, I'm not sending this guy to prison for 25 years. I'm going to give him probation, because that, to me, it was a probation case. It was a drug case, and I gave him probation. And I want to talk to you about people that are in recovery, and these things will make sense. But
no, it's interesting you say that though, because I mean, a lot of judges, both in state court and federal court, they have certain quirks that they say, you know what, I'm just not doing this, or I'm not doing this on everything. I've never heard you say that. I mean, you've always been like, bring me things and I'm going to be open to listen to whatever ways that you might suggest, and I have my own ways I might think about it too.
Yeah, well, I mean, this planet is way too vast and expensive for me to have, to cut it off like that. You never know, what kind of things might come in front of you. So if you have this policy, and then you have a case that it doesn't work, well then,
what do you do? You box yourself in.
You're locked in, and it doesn't make sense, and you soon recognize that your policy is really bad policy. So this particular case, though, I gave him a deferred, and he was working in a program. He was working really hard. He was doing really well, and then Hurricane Harvey hit, and so this guy was in recovery. And what you have to understand, and this is a thing that judges should understand about addictions, know the difference between sobriety and recovery. To do this business, you have to have some understanding of addictions. And this is what I can tell you is that a person that is in recovery is going to be your best employee. They're going to be there on time. They're not going to make any excuses. They hold themselves accountable. So this is a difference. A person that's not in recovery, or your average Joe, if he's late, he's going to make some excuse for it, right? If his work isn't done well, he's going to make some excuse. It's always somebody else's fault. That's how an addict brain works, right? But once a person is in recovery, that brain changes. That recovery brain says, I'm responsible. If I don't do a good job, it's not Jimmy's fault. It's because, I didn't do it correctly. If Jimmy's mad at me, I don't need to be mad at Jimmy. I need to look at myself and ask myself, why is Jimmy mad at me? And fix that, because you recognize that I don't have the things that I have control over, or those things within me. I can do a better job. I can't change you. I can't change you, but I can change me. And that's what makes people in recovery your best employees when they're in recovery. Now, when they're in their addictions, they're your worst.
Right.
Okay? But when they're in recovery, man, they're amazing. So back to my story. This guy was in recovery. The hurricane hits. He's got to be at work. All right? And so his work calls and says, hey, you know what? It's flooding. You don't need to be here. It's flooding. It's dangerous, whatever. And he says, no, I love my work. I want to be at work. It's something that he enjoys and wants to be there, and he's responsible. And he's like, I'm going to do this. And so what does he do? He goes through, the water to get to work. And unfortunately, the poor guy, he drowned. He died that day trying to get to work. But that was the recovery in him. That the responsibility, like, I've got a job to do. And he was willing to go through, the high water of Harvey to get to his work. That's how much it meant to him.
Let's talk about a job to do. Let's talk about your campaign. We have about 4 or 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, where is Judge Carter taking his court next? What are some things that you want to make sure that people know about?
And also why.
Well,
Should those who are inclined to vote straight ticket, or maybe on the other side of the aisle, maybe switch over for you?
Well, yeah, I think, again, I feel that people vote straight ticket generally because, out of some passion, and as opposed to, and a lot of times it's a result of anger, and it kind of comes down to that idea of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You want to change, yeah, but it might not be the change that you necessarily, you're going to get change, but it might not be the change that you're happy with.